According to Trend Micro Incorporated, hackers are now stealing personal data information and selling it to the black market. In 2023, the malware blocked by the cybersecurity company was up by 20% of malware. Those that have been working remotely and using cloud storage solutions have been targeted by hackers. Joining us is Zaheer, Ebrahim, Solutions Architect at Trend Micro MEA. Zaheer, appreciate your time this evening. Now, as we take a look at the scope and methodology, what specific data, theft trends and methods are highlighted in the Trend Micro report, and how extensive is the researchers' coverage?
Thanks, Hugo, and good evening to all your viewers on your lovely show. So if we take a step back to be able to understand what these bad actors are actually after, and how are they be able to process this data that they're actually stealing. So there's something, a small little world that we refer to as the dark web. Most of you have previously searched Google, you'll search the top of the websites, and you'll be able to gather your data that you require. But what the dark web means is this is the other side of the internet that a lot of us don't browse on. And on the dark side of the internet or the dark web, we have a lot of illicit type of scenarios that are happening on there. And that is where we're starting to see a lot more data points like stolen credit cards, stolen identities, and so forth that is being sold on the specific dark web. And that is one of the big things that you'll be able to notice in our report. A lot of different credentials are being stolen and they're being harvested on that specific dark web. And that is a very critical thing for a lot of users nowadays, because that's our personal information that is being leaked and that personal information is being sold. And if you look at it and think about the scenario where we are within the December time frame, a lot of us are buying stuff, selling stuff, and now you need to get to understand that your account has been leaked and your identity could have been stolen because your personal information has been leaked. So in the report, we're actually covering a lot of this data, especially within the Africa region.
So let's talk about how consumers can protect themselves, obviously with what's happened, particularly post-COVID-19, is that many of us are now shopping online.
No, definitely. And it's such an interesting time to have this discussion, because we understand that Black Friday just passed, Cyber Monday, and we're building out to the festive season. Christmas, New Year's is coming around, and a lot of us are going to do a lot more online shopping. And some of the things that the bad actors are going to be able to point in your direction will be things like fake websites. You're going to go to a website, the website's going to look legitimate, you're going to put in your credentials, you're going to put in your details, but meanwhile, this is actually a fake website, and you're putting in your details where these details can then be harvested and then sold on the dark web. So when we look at how these normal everyday users will be able to protect themselves, they need to ensure that the actual websites they're going to is legitimate. An easy way to be able to spot some of these websites is think about that small HTTPS padlock that comes on the top of the URL browser. Ensure that that is there to ensure that it's a secure connection that you're actually having. On top of that, your passwords that you're actually using, make sure that they're actually strong. Do not reuse your passwords, and always try to look at the emails that you're receiving. A lot of these bad actors are now sending in things like smishing emails, especially phishing emails that come to you that look very legitimate. But as soon as you click it, that means that you have now been clickbaited and your credentials can then be stolen.
Now, how do infostealer attacks work, and why are they currently the primary method for stealing and selling data on the criminal underground?
So when we look at the various attacks that the bad actors are using, and that is obviously one of them, because it's an easy way to be able to get into the customer's databases. And that is very key, because when you open up the customer's database, you got a whole host of different credentials that you'll be able to sort after. Things like the username, email address, telephone number, ID number, date of birth, etc. And that is a very key database that will be able to be used. A lot of organizations are also trying to secure that type of data by putting security enforcements on there. You'll notice that when you go into these type of websites, you'll then be prompted for things like multi-factor authentication, where you'll be able to receive an SMS, or on your application you'll get a push notification on your app that will then need to be approved before you're allowed access on those specific URLs. So when we look at why those databases are being targeted, is because of the type of users that are accessing it. It's an easy bait for a lot of users, and the bad actors has found an easy loophole to get that data out of them.
Now, the one thing that you talked about is that we need to look for that little lock that sits in the URL, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
Now, what are the precautions are recommended for individuals and businesses to safeguard against data breaches and infostealer attacks? And how can strong security measures be implemented?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Hugo. And one of the things that I always like to preach when I'm talking to customers and partners out there is when we start talking about cybersecurity, we need to firstly understand that every one of us will be breached. It's just we don't know that we're being breached and the bad actors already in your environment. But when we look at protecting it, it's always how you have the capability to respond to a threat that's coming into your environment. And one of the things that I like to refer to is a sort of an onion approach. The onion approach has multiple layers, and that is where you can have multiple layers of technology to be able to protect you. Obviously, in an enterprise scenario, it's slightly different. You'll have multiple layers of technology. You'll be able to have a security team to monitor what is happening in the environment. But when we bring it down to the consumer level, we can go down. I just had a chat with someone yesterday, and we're looking at something as trivial as a CCTV camera that was installed in your environment at home. When you log onto the CCTV camera, someone could have installed it for you, an installer, and they use the default credentials like admin to be able to log you in. So always ensure that those passwords are changed and make sure that your patches are done, your vulnerabilities on your machines are patched. When you see those small notifications that tell you patch your machine, patch your mobile device, always click it and ensure you have a strong antivirus on your device to make sure that it's be able to scan those type of websites that you're going to browse as well.
Fantastic. Appreciate your time, Zaheer. Ebrahim, Solutions Architect at Trend Micro MEA.